It is August 14th, 2024. We're here on the rooftop of the property located at 4178 Stevens Street in San Diego, California, 92103. We don't have any sewer cleanouts at the ground level, and there's nothing protruding out of the crawl space where the newer plastic ABS piping was done off the bathroom. So we're here on the rooftop. We've got an original 4-inch cast iron vent. This would lead directly into the beginning of the sewer line for the original hall bathroom. We were told that the master bathroom was an addition later on. And again, everything in the crawl space we could see is all plastic ABS. There's a T-junction on the vent. Pick up the other fixture in there, the sink or the tub. Here's the transition to plastic ABS pipe here. I'm going to drop our camera in. They use the sanitary T, so it's going to be a little bit of a hard turn to try to get this to sweep. We're going to go ahead and pause the camera for a second while I try to make this turn here. Okay, so we just went ahead and had the real estate agent flush the toilet so we could get the direction of flow. Because when we first put the camera through, we started going the wrong direction back towards the master bathroom, essentially. So the master bathroom is the true beginning of the sewer main, which is just a couple feet away. They're side by side, back to back with each other. So the camera flip-flopped the right direction now, going downstream. So we're headed towards the front of the house. There's all our T-junctions picking up the other fixtures. Okay, so here's our transition already, where the ABS is ending and we're going into the cast iron. This is kind of typical here. So the cast iron is going to have a little bit of miniature amount of deposits and scale and buildup, and even though the alignment looks pretty clean, that little bit of buildup on the bottom creates a little bit of water damming effect. You've got to use a carbide bit to really clean off the inside of the cast iron, otherwise you get this minuscule amount of water hanging out because the cast iron has a little lip and some buildup you can see right there. So it's nothing big, just push right through there. So this is now the original cast iron. We're basically just passing through the foundation right now, essentially. Now we're getting into the front yard. So you can see a little bit of scale on the bottom of the pipe, little ridges and undulations here and there, being all the original piping from when the house was built. We're just looking for any roots, any construction debris, any obvious cracks or breaks, or really heavy scale and buildup that may land up snagging or holding paper, feces, other debris from flowing out of the system cleanly. Just seeing a minimal amount of deposits and scaling on the bottom. Nothing that requires any hydrojetting or chain knocking or cleaning at this point. With old cast iron, you do have to be careful if you ever do have to have this descaled with a jetter or that, because the walls might be old and thick. So we got a little chunk of debris right there. I honestly don't know what that is. I can't tell if it's a little ball of just paper product, or if it happened to be some real tiny weird roots that had gotten into the system somehow and snagged some paper and debris. We'll run a bunch of water by this area here just to see if it kind of moves, but we'll continue downstream at first. So we're right about 56 feet from the roof vent. Okay, here we transition to clay pipe. So right after that, a foot or so after, we're into clay pipe. And this is also a turn on the system. You can see we're headed down at about a 45-degree angle. To get deeper, here's a corrected 45. Now we're horizontal again. We may have to run some water also to get the camera out further. We'll see here in a minute or two, but keep trying to push through this right now. Okay, looks like here's our next downturn. This might be our drop dumping into the city. We're about 84 feet out, so about 14 feet vertical, so we're about 70 feet out across. Here's our drop. A little bit tough getting through this area here because of all the turns and the distance we're at. We may have to run some water, but I believe this is the very end of the line. We're dumping into the city here. We can't see the true exact T-junction opening. It might be below us by a foot or two. So we'll pause the video and run some water through the system here. Okay, so we've got all the water starting to run through the entire house, so we're going to see water showing up here in a few seconds. So we want to show this. We're going to give every attempt we can to get this camera out to the city. There we go. Looks like that's all we needed was just a little bit of water there to get out to the system. So looks like we're in the larger city pipe. We're way past 100 feet here, but we just wanted to keep going here. So we'll go ahead and shut the water off, and we'll go ahead and pull back on the system here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start pulling back out of the city line here. We're in the larger clay pipe. You can see it's kind of hard to see the full diameter of the pipe. We're in the larger one in the street here. Picks up some of the neighboring properties as well. So pull back our camera here. Okay, now we're making that turn back up from the city through the T-junction, that vertical. Here's that vertical we couldn't see. So there's where it's dumping into the city. Coming back up that few inches literally past that turn. So we got past all of that. So the clay looks good. Mostly clay will last forever. The only problem with it sometimes are root intrusions, but we have none here. We don't have a plethora of trees in the area. And so also the city of San Diego has been replacing or relining their clay pipe. And so this zip code at some point may even get it redone. Not that it's urgent or needed for this property, but they may do that at some point. So come back up this vertical part of the clay, make our turn right here. We'll be going back into the cast iron here. And then we'll look at that small amount of debris we saw a foot back and see if it moved or shifted at all from all that water. Yeah, there you go. So see, we were at 55, 56 feet where that little chunk of debris was. So it was not a little snag of anything. It was just heavy debris. So somebody may have used the toilet because this house isn't occupied and they're not using running water through all the fixtures. The heavy volume we just ran flushed it out. So that's not a concern. There's no clean out for the main sewer anywhere. So what we are going to go ahead and do is pull back our camera to the closest area, which would be the shallowest by the front of the house near the foundation wall, so we can mark this with a flag denoting the path of the pipe and the depth. So if anybody ever did have a stoppage, rather than having to pull the toilet or come up on the roof, because again, this roof vent is not an easy access to get your cable or camera, as you saw in this case, to go in the right direction of flow. So we'll make a notation for the property so if it ever has to be done. So here's the end of that ABS, which is visible in the crawl space. So then we have a couple feet to push through this to get to the front yard. Not sure what kind of landscaping's there, but we'll leave our camera right here at this spot. We're going to go ahead and pause and locate this. Okay, so we've gone ahead and located the sewer pipe here in the front yard. The pipe to the bottom of the pipe here is only about 1 feet, 6 inches deep. So we're only about 16 to 18 inches deep to the bottom of the pipe in this area. We'll go ahead and put a flag down in the front yard. As you're standing on the sidewalk looking at the house, it's to the right of the concrete large front porch that the sewer line passes out under the diggable grass and marked landscaped area. So we'll move our camera down to that ground level to show that flag in case it somehow gets destroyed or removed, and we'll go ahead and show that. One notation here is that we do not have a vent for the drain pipe for the laundry. So we're up here on the rooftop looking at all the vent pipes, and we just have all the original cast iron for the kitchen, for this master bathroom here, hall bath. We don't see any other vents for the master bathroom, and we can see a vent pipe coming off the toilet, but the other ones, they're functioning fine. They're just not completely vented to code. But everything is tied in at some point, so it's getting enough air and it's functional. It's obviously been that way for a long time, so we just want to point it out though, as you come up this cast iron here, there's no T-junctions with newer plastic. Sorry, there's some water droplets hanging on the camera lens, but anyway, we'd shown this when we first passed through. But here on the rooftop of the hall bath, which is again side to side with the master, here's this vent. Go to the edge, the master's on this edge. There's no other vents. We have the kitchen vent over there in the middle of the screen, and as we pan across, we have the tub vent or sink vent over right here. So we see some of the vent connectors in the crawl space going up the walls. We just don't see any exact tie-ins. So they're getting air into the system and maybe letting the gases out, so that's the important thing. But the laundry itself doesn't. We went into the crawl space. We found that the dryer duct is out of code. Of course, the home inspector noted that. That has to be vented to the outside for the dust, for fire hazard and the carbon monoxide. But the drain pipes are partially exposed when we look up through the floorboards, and the laundry essentially, so there's the kitchen vent right there. As we look across, the laundry is in the kitchen cabinets. They added that, and there's no access to the drain pipes, the water shutoff valves, the gas, anything. But the drain pipes we can see in the, we look up through the floorboards from the crawl space, just go across a trap arm and then down and tie into the sewer. They don't have a vent pipe, and again, that's so you prevent airlock, and so the sewer odors and gases go out. So it's obviously getting enough air because it's a short run, but we just want to point that out. There's no easy way to correct that, unfortunately. That would have needed to be done while the walls were opened up behind the kitchen cabinetry, and the tub is behind that laundry wall, so there's just no access. So we just want to point that out. So we're going to go ahead and pause and move down to ground level. Okay, so you can see here the front of the house, and to the right of the porch, as we mentioned here, in this landscaped bed area, this is actually where the sewer pipe passes through. So in this field of landscape here, here's our green flag denoting sewer pipe at 16 inches deep right here. So within a foot of the foundation wall, the edge of the house there. So we'll leave that flag in the ground right there. In case some reason somebody ever had to or wanted to put in cleanouts, that's where that would go. So we're going to go ahead and move over to the kitchen drain line. We do have a cleanout for the small kitchen line, so we'll go ahead and scope that real fast. Okay, so here on the side of the house, we do have the kitchen cleanout right here. 2-inch ABS plastic pipe. Go into this line. Here's a turn. And here's the drop into the main sewer ready. So the kitchen line is literally only about 6.5 feet long. So a super short distance, but since we had to clean out access, the only one to the system, we wanted to check that out. Now, theoretically, if the main sewer ever backed up, you wouldn't be able to use a very large cutting bit, of course, because you only have a 2-inch pipe access. So you have to use a cutter that's only about 1.5 inches in diameter, which to clean a 4-inch pipe can be done, a little tricky, but you could theoretically get this cleared out from this 2-inch pipe before you'd ever have to put in the main sewer clean out. So again, we don't really suspect there should be any problems as long as things aren't flushed down. They shouldn't, but you could access the main sewer via this if you really had to. So everything looks good on the system for the drain and sewer pipes at this point, and so that concludes this recording.